the challenge. So we had a March challenge. I'm getting echoey here.
Sorry.
Yeah, a March challenge to talk about deed restriction in Cottonwoods. How did it go? I mean, first of all, I want to say some of you already do this. You already have, talk it up to everybody you know. But I'm just wondering, does anybody have any stories that they would like to share about talking about Cottonwoods and deed restrictions out in the community?
I actually did that homework, and I talked to, more than 6 people, and the consistent story I had is I couldn't get them to focus on the deed restriction, because they were just like, what are these gonna cost, and when are they gonna be available, and, they're more like, yeah, we accept the deed restriction, but how much, when can I apply, when are they going vertical?
Yeah.
And by the way, you guys start building stuff besides condos and apartments and something else, so it was hard to keep everyone focused on it.
Okay.
My flaky little 6 people. Lou?
In addition to comments about when can you do things, there was a comment about, I don't know enough about deed restrictions. Can you give me an example? And I've used the West Side example. I think we have data.
Yeah, you
And
do.
Robin said we had data.
Yeah, we do.
Robin went.
I know somebody who lives in one, so yeah.
And some, there you were.
There I am.
That,
I sent you success stories. I sent you a link of success
Did
stories.
you?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
Do we pause the recording or are we,
Stop recording, sorry.
because we started new one.
Yes, except there's nothing. They were gonna be done before.
Well, because the agenda has an action item coming out.
Yeah. You
Oh, yes, yes, you're right.
So
I'm just gonna put that there was that action item and then.
Well, like,
me and I now.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so I have. I'll be. I need to check with Adam. Adam got me tickets. Stars like show at the Mule. So I love the show. Yeah,
No,
but
that's important.
I don't know if it's out.
Next to.
I need to check. with
That's why.
That's why.
Oh, yeah, those are any relation.
I can get it.
Just the down payment.
I can sign on remotely, like, if you could tell me like, hey, it's coming up, hop on, like maybe that.
It was a long lost.
Okay, it's gonna be 30 minutes.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, it's not the down payment.
okay,
Okay, let me know.
okay, sounds good.
We have 0 historical.
I should. I a little later.
I mean, they're.
You're asking about write-ups.
So we're going down Saturday.
You're asking about the
Yeah.
write-up?
So like I will be,
Yeah, I asked the auditor.
I'm not like driving.
Just historically.
Yeah, we don't carry.
Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Okay, can't come on. I've got a million people.
Do you go earlier?
Yeah.
But I just.
From where?
There was another.
All right. Let's get started on this because even though I really tried, we're still kind of limited on time. So thank you all for reviewing the documentation and information that I provided in my email. And thank you especially to the board members who sent me really good detailed questions that resulted in subsequent information being shared. We are here to talk about a requested revision to Jason's executive director contract. And so I'll open it up to the board to ask questions directly of Jason. And then when we're completed with that, we can have a private board discussion about our thoughts on this request. Does anybody have any questions for Jason?
I predictably have a question. Great. Jason, I'm curious if you are envisioning this as like a one-time situation, just applies for this summer, or if compensation or this type of extended leave is something that you would be interested in going forward, like in perpetuity. I mean, of course, you probably be
Not interested.
Yeah, I mean,
expectation of
is
like.
that on the table?
No, that is
No,
not
I
on the
didn't-
table.
I anticipated this being kind of like a once in a career kind of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
My only question is, and I support this, I think Jason does an exceptional job, and I think family is a high priority for us, and we need to live our values. My only real question is the timing of it, Jason, and as I said, I'm gonna say this a gazillion times, and I realize it's like the development team and not me who's gonna do the heavy lifting. But I do think it is critically important for us to do this parallel path of working on development plans, draft development plans with the, this DSD, process. Because I appreciate you having the timeline and going to the ballot in 2026. I think that's critical, but I think we're gonna have to have a lot of detailed discussion this year for us to have that be successful. So with, you've been the exceptionally talented and valuable lead on all of our development deals times. I mean, if you take this time off, I mean, can, Elliot, whoever, our development team, can they cover for you? And I'm asking the development team, can we continue moving forward on, draft development type plans for West Steamboat with Jason being gone for this time period?
This was a question that we actually talked to Jason about a while ago, and I think we're committed as a team, me in particular, to make sure that we can cover it.
Okay, and that was really my question. I think this just also shows how advantageous it is to have Elliot and Emily, your senior team, to be able to do it. And then my only other comment is, I think this is a great policy, and I do think we should add to our personnel policy that this option is available to the rest of the team, rest of the staff.
So to respond to you, Catherine, I just want to let you know that I've spoken with Emily and Elliot because it was clear to the executive team that they would be the employees who would be bearing most of the additional workload if this request was approved. They both support Jason to take this additional time off and are committed to working with the board and the executive team in the planning process to ensure that we have the best level of success organizationally. And then, man, I just lost mine. Oh, and the second piece is that, yes, the intention of the executive team is to extend this type of leave policy to additional staff members. And in fact, I've already spoke with Jess about starting to work on drafting a policy. And just this morning, she sent me over an initial set of thoughts on that policy. My concern is that in order to make sure that we appropriately plan for the timing of this and ensure organizational success, I think it's important that we approve this and then as a secondary step, work to approve a plan for the remaining staff members because those members won't be taking this type of leave while Jason is gone and likely wouldn't be taking it until the following year anyway. So I just want to make sure that we, as we're putting an organizational plan in place, that we take the time that's necessary to make sure that we implement something that we're all proud of and we're not sort of moving at a pace that is a rush for something organizational.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, I think that Jason has got a contract, agreement with the board.
Yes.
But so my thoughts on this, depending on this meeting, would be to move forward approving Jason's request and then have a thoughtful discussion with, the policy, just so that opportunity is extended for everyone.
Yes, Reese.
I don't know if you're a Survivor fan, but give me your best Survivor answer to why is this valuable for the organization and why do you deserve it?
Wow. How does that relate to Survivor?
That's what they do at the end of Survivor.
Really?
Yeah.
I clearly have not watched it.
Add that to your to-do list for tonight.
Yeah, well, to answer the first question about why I think it's beneficial to the organization is, I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about this. I'm sort of synonymous with the housing authority and we have an incredibly good team. That is, you know, very capable and oftentimes probably overshadowed by everyone thinking that the housing authority is me. And I think this is a really great opportunity for those folks to kind of shine. I think, you know, Emily is a great example of somebody who has a lot more upside. And my hope for her and many others is that they sort of find this new gear that they're comfortable with. That helps them expand out of their current kind of place that they're in and grow in a meaningful way that me being there may not facilitate. I know it's going to be a lot of work for those folks. And so one of the things that this is kind of motivated for me is really like lining out game plans for all of our kind of divisions that we're working on, so that it's not like, oh shit, Jason's gone, what do we do now? It's like, we're just continuing along on the game plan that we have that will last long after I come back. And so that's something that I'm actually pretty excited about working on in the interim period between now and June, to get that stuff together. As for why I deserve it, sort of a hard thing to answer, but I guess I've been doing this for 12 and a half years.
Give it to us.
I've taken a lot of bullets for the housing authority. And honestly, like, if I'm gonna stand up and take another round of shots from the community, I would like some time to recharge and reinvigorate. And so that's why I'm thinking about this from a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint. Like, my kids are at a great age and I want to spend more time with them and, you know, take advantage of this time because no time is given, you know.
Great answers.
Couple questions. First of all, wholeheartedly support the job you're doing. Secondly, family first. No issues there. Questions I have: that if a sabbatical policy, if that's what we're tentatively calling it.
We're gonna call it something else.
I think the recommended language would be an extended tenure leave.
Thank you.
Very good. Extended tenure leave policy is actually developed. Would you support that as an executive director for your employees?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I had suggested that sort of, I didn't feel necessarily comfortable doing something like this if it wasn't broadly available or there wasn't a discussion happening to make it broadly available, because I'm not the only one who's taken bullets for the organization. And I'm also not the only one who's been working really hard. There's a lot of people who are deserving to recharge. And I think it's really good from an organizational standpoint. Like, if we can give people that time off to recharge and they don't burn out and quit, man, we are miles ahead. So
From a board perspective, we are changing over our executive team somewhat. Is that at all problematic to anyone in this room? Leah will not be here.
I mean, well.
No, but really. I mean, will you be here or when you go to Spain?
Oh, when I go to Mexico, I mean, will I
Mexico?
physically be in this boardroom? No. And
Right.
I won't be the chair of this board anymore, but we have been pre-planning for that, and I'll let people talk about it, but we've been pre-planning for that transition, and I will physically be in Steamboat until the beginning of August, so I will be here for most of the time that
Okay.
Jason is on leave.
Financials, is there a fiscal impact to this? And if so, what is it?
Like a extra expense?
Yes.
No. There's no increase in expense. The salary will be as if the salary is being paid as if he was here. It's just vacation.
Yeah, it's a one-time accrual.
I think that, I mean, this is a policy discussion to be had, but I think that we might want to give some consideration to, like, usually when a more senior person is absent for an extended period of time and junior staff are filling in, that a modest pay differential is standard practice to recognize like, Elliot was not hired to serve as the executive director, and they're not being compensated at the level that Jason is. So it's not like, I wouldn't say that it's a deal breaker, but I think it might be reasonable. And I can say like my own experience in state government for 15+ years. Oftentimes if somebody was out, for example, for FMLA and a junior staff was acting instead of a senior staff, they would get a title of acting for the role that they were filling, and they would receive a 5% pay differential for the burden of effort. So, I think that that's something to potentially consider. If the board wanted to go that direction, then of course there would be a fiscal cost, albeit very moderate, given the time period we're talking about here. So just food for thought.
Yeah, and I think the concern that I have with that piece, and we should definitely discuss it further because I want to compensate staff, is that I don't know if the executive team and or board members are, I guess if we did it as sort of a fixed percentage, we had sort of talked about it based on merit. And my concern was, well, how is the executive team going to really understand who is stepping up? And then Elliot is kind of self-reporting and he's one of the people who would be eligible. So I like that suggestion that is a modest payment based on something fixed rather than on actual effort.
Right, I mean, it's not super substantive, but I think it's an appropriate recognition of asking staff to act outside of their class or their duty description for the job that they run.
I don't believe we're doing that though,
And okay.
right?
Well, if
Well, it's
Jason
not
is gone
proposed.
for 10 weeks,
Yeah.
somebody else is going to have to step in and fill the duties that he's leaving absent.
But that's
I
not,
have a thought though. Do we have any more questions for Jason or, because we're getting into deliberation?
Yeah,
And so
thank
I
you.
think if we don't have any more questions for him, then it's time for him to step out while we discuss these things. If we do, then we should continue asking him questions in the limited time that we have.
Thanks, Anaka.
I have no more questions of him.
Dakota.
All right, I definitely understand the idea of burnout and trying to address that. I think is wise. I just wonder if you can address for me issue of public perception of you leaving for that extended period of time during this big community engagement process. And not only that, but when I look at okay, I'll save that for another question actually.
Yeah, I've thought about that because this is a time when the community is kind of re-engaging in this conversation. A lot of the work that's going to be done is community dialogue, community discussion around, the challenges of development and all of that. It's not stuff where we, I think, as the housing authority are going to be leading and presenting projects and things like that. But there is, I think, the issue I could see is that I'm not there to listen to what's happening. And that could be perceived as either I don't care or whatever, or the housing authority doesn't care. I think by having Emily and Elliot still very much engaged, we as a collective organization are still listening. Probably better listeners than I am. But at the same point in time, I don't know, that's the way where I don't have a clear answer.
Because they're gonna come back to city council and we're gonna hear about concerns.
Well, the city council doesn't run the housing authority. Let's be clear on that it is a joint effort between the county and city council. And
Do you get public comments often about council or concerns of?
we get a lot of emails. I would say we get less public comment because our meetings are in the middle of the day, certainly, but we get emails about the housing authority.
I'm just saying that is like, we will hear and I will be able to let the team know what's
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
if we do get concerned.
I mean, Dakota, this is definitely a concern that we as the executive team had, and I think that the best way that I worked through it in my mind is that I think the last time around, Jason and the Brown Ranch were considered one and the same, and I think that there is some benefit to the public looking to other members of the housing authority and the board as equal spokespeople for the mission and the plan. And so I think that there is some public benefit, and you may very well hear comments and you can direct them to me and the executive team. I don't think we should make decisions based on Jason's request for leave, based on public perception about whether or not he needs to be in the room to listen. I think we need to make those decisions based on the contributions that he's made to the organization. I think we need to make those decisions based on our constant staff. That is, I don't want to make decisions based on fear of public perception.
Okay, and I agree with all those things. It's just, this is a big chunk of time. So it's not just about the Brown Ranch community engagement issue. It's about the leadership of the housing authority and not having that for almost 3 months. Looks like. So the next question I have is based on some performance review summary. Thank you for sharing, Leah. Some of the comments were, there was a lot of good feedback in here, but in the areas for improvement where leadership and management style require enhancement for better collaboration amongst staff as well as community partners, and then more hands-on management and oversight required for team members. So how can you address that for me? In terms of, yes, there's always room for improvement, but those are maybe some essential things that still need to be worked on.
Yeah, I sort of alluded to the concept of kind of creating the game plan for, all of our different real estate projects that we're doing, the real estate rollout, development projects, and then real estate rollout, financial oversight, budget, all of those types of things, so that there's a game plan for folks to follow when I'm not there, so they don't have to come to my office and say, Jason, what do we do next? Not that generally speaking happens, but that there is a clear path forward on all of these different endeavors, so that direction is not lacking when I'm not. And there's gonna need to be micro adjustments to that direction, and that's ultimately gonna fall to Elliot and his management style.
Jason, following up on Dakota's first question, and I guess that was what I was asking earlier, and that's a really good point. Because who is going to be the community voice, the lead, that when the community calls and asks the question about the community builders plan, I guess that's what it's called. Are they gonna be calling Emily or Lou as the development chair, or Elliot? I mean, who is gonna be the person that's the main, because every project, program, whatever, has like a main, the main community per lead, is that, and that is you, and Elliot's got a lot of talents, but he does not have your planning skill set.
Yep.
So is that gonna be Emily, Lou?
So we talked about that at the executive team meeting, and it's a combination of all of that. Depending on the particular thing, there's not one person that you can just say, step in and pretend to be Jason for 3
Right.
months. And so in particular circumstances, it's going to be the new comms person. In other circumstances, it's going to be Emily. Other times it'll be Elliot. Sometimes it'll be Lou. Sometimes it'll be Leah. And we're going to pre-identify that before I leave,
Okay.
to say, okay, if it's community builders related, we're going to co-create amongst Elliot, Lou, Emily, Leah. How are we going to handle that? There's a big city council meeting that needs to happen. I don't think we're going to have one of those, but if there is, who's sitting up at the kids' table, right? And how are we addressing that? So that when these circumstances arise, we already have a plan.
I mean, just to add on to that a little bit, I see this as an opportunity for us as an organization to present one or more faces to not only the city and the county, but the public in general. That's different than Jason. As incredible as it may seem, there are some people that, may desire that.
No, I think actually I mean, Jason's done an exceptional job, but I think that's beneficial to the community. I think during Brown Ranch 1, we did not as a board the board wasn't as involved in Brown Ranch as it could have been. And consequently, Jason got all the heat.
You did.
And I think this is an opportunity. I just want to make sure we have a solid plan. And I guess Dakota's got a point. I mean, personnel type of vacations, you don't usually announce to the public. But are we going to announce this to our partners or anything? Or what are you guys thinking?
I think that's a really good question. I don't know if that is associated with Jason or not, but that is a good question, is how we make this public.
If-
I think that is time for deliberation and not.
Well, I was just asking Jason if he had a game plan, if he had thought about.
I've already spoken, like I've already kind of given a heads up to Jay and to Tom that this is something that I'm thinking of and that I'm talking to the board about. Jay was incredibly supportive, having, I think, been in this exact same position once or twice in his career. And Tom had a lot of the same concerns that you guys have, right? Who's going to be the spokesperson for YVHA? And so I do think that we need to communicate it. My preference would be that would be communicated, and there's a particular way to communicate that, to say that, we're doing this for the XYZ reasons, and we believe that there's a benefit to this, and that you won't see, any change in pace or productivity from the housing authority. People will, I'm sure, hate on it because they will. But I think it's important to get ahead of that message for sure.
I was thinking too, so I wanted to see if you had a game plan. That sounds like a good plan. And I think that, as Lou said, it just shows the community, the strength of our board and our staff.
Anything else for Jason?
One more question, sorry, I know we're going over time. Have you considered, if this doesn't get approved, having like a compromised request?
So we had already kind of done a little bit of back and forth negotiation, me and the executive team.
And who sits on that team again, remind me?
It's me and Kathy, Cole, and Lou.
And so I had actually proposed a longer period of time. They shortened it. So that's I think we're at the compromise point.
And we changed the salary.
Any other questions for Jason?
Is there anything we're forgetting to ask Jason that you'd like to share?
No, I don't think.
Just as a point of clarification, because what Jess brought up is really important. Have you outlined any formal duties that you are requiring staff to do in your absence that would not otherwise be their job description?
Or is that part of what that next step of organizational planning, is that within that?
It is within that, and I've created a draft that I think you guys have seen that was just sort of like a delegation of responsibilities. And it was, it essentially falls to some folks or with support from others. So to the point I think that you're going, I do think that there will be folks, and I would say it's most likely Elliot and Emily, who will take on more responsibility. And considering this sort of 5% bump or whatever that is, may be an appropriate move. Emily has already asked me if we were considering something like that. And so I said, I don't know, right? Obviously it's up to the board to decide how they want to manage that policy. But yeah, I do think that there's going to be additional responsibilities that are going to fall onto those folks that they otherwise do not have had.
All right, thank you.
You guys ready for me to leave?
Hi.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Sorry, we got in the weeds here a couple of times.
Yeah, I'll start off by saying, Jessica is interesting because I was thinking the exact same thing on that 5% for Emily and,
I think that's what I had seen, that's pretty standard.
yeah, no, I was,
Is that standard for somebody being named an interim or just for somebody doing their normal job with
I think some.
In absence
I
of-
mean, I would say it kind of, in this specific instance, I think it depends on how Jason recommends structuring it.
Yeah.
If he parses out his duties and we can see that 60+% of them are falling to Elliot,
Yeah,
then I think that you might consider, I mean, he already has a deputy director title.
That-
don't think
I
he
know,
needs
that's
an
my
interim
problem.
Title, but
That's
I
my
do think like, if somebody is taking more than half of Jason's duties on in addition to their own duties, I do think some compensatory recognition is standard practice. If they're being distributed, across Lou and Emily and Elliot, and they're kind of all over the place, and we can't say there's one staff that's
Yeah.
bearing the burden, then I think that you might say compensation, added compensation wouldn't be expected in this case.
I think we should have a lengthy discussion on that policy when we have something to talk about. Because I think there are other ways of doing it. I don't know. Maybe it's a 5% bump, maybe it's a bonus, maybe it's something else.
Yes.
Extra vacation, all kinds of ways that can be accommodated.
Well, I mean, I'm sure of this, but I have been in the world of workforce and labor and employment issues my entire career. So this is something that I'm a little familiar with, but I'm not SHRM certified. I'm not an HR professional. But what I would say, my feeling about this as it pertains to Jason's request, I'm definitely receptive to what he's asking, but I would only consider it if the organization adopts a policy that applies equitably to all employees. I would say the draft that Jason sent very quickly, that was kind of a red line version of what apparently he had gotten from YVHA, gave kind of stratification for if you're the executive director, you get 12 weeks. If you're the deputy director, you get 8 weeks. If you're a lower level staff, you get 4 weeks. That, I'm not sure where YVHA pulled that from. In the world of compensation, it's typical to give preference or differential treatment in some areas of compensation, i.e. pay, based off of where you are in an org chart. In other areas of compensation, we don't differentiate based off of hierarchy, i.e. leave. So typically in an organization, everybody's accruing leave at the same rate. Now, in order to promote tenure, you might get more leave after 5 years, more leave after 10 years, but we don't give the CEO of an organization more leave than the bookkeeper of an organization. That is not standard HR practice. So I wouldn't be supportive of that. I do appreciate that in the interest of time, there's some kind of pressure to if we're gonna move forward with this, that maybe that needs to be reflected in Jason's contract, and then we can figure out the nitty-gritty of a policy. I would say I'm comfortable with that to the extent that Jason's contract says that whatever policy is adopted by the board retroactively applies to this period of leave. And he doesn't get another bite at the apple, so to speak.
Yeah.
If we come up with an extended leave policy that's available to everyone, what he's doing this summer counts towards that. So I think that would be my only,
But if he
yeah.
hasn't accrued, I'm sorry to interrupt
Please
you.
go ahead.
If he hasn't accrued the leave, am I under the understanding that this would be paid, but he hasn't actually accrued the leave?
It seems that his leave balance is not sufficient to enable him to take. this
His
amount of
leave
time.
balance is
So we
not
would be
sufficient,
paying-
so we would be paying him for 5 weeks of additional unaccrued leave as a one-time.
But he's also not getting a raise. We're also not renegotiating the contract and adding more a raise to his contract.
A
He did
raise
get a
for-
cost of living raise like all of the other staff, but he did not get a merit-based increase and hasn't received a merit-based increase since mid-2023 when we did his last contract.
What's the cost, excuse me, what's the cost of living increase?
It's 3%.
It's
3%.
3%, and it's applied across.
Just to
Okay.
point out, Leah, as we talked about a couple days ago, the CPI is not in Jason's contract.
No,
I was gonna say, I
So
didn't
he's
think
not
it was
guaranteed
either.
He is not guaranteed it, but we did grant it to him as part of our approval for the budgeting process at the end of 2024.
yeah, it's not directly in his contract, but it is policy of the housing authority to apply CPI adjustments.
And
to-
that's how it has been applied in the past.
Yeah.
It wasn't applied at the 2024 year because we specifically said in the 2023 mid-year contract that he wouldn't be up for any type of salary discussion until 2020.
But that's at the discretion of the board. It's not in the contract.
Correct.
could I ask?
Yes.
I've heard 10 weeks. I've looked at, what he sent was 11 weeks crossed out plus effectively 2 weeks halftime.
Yep.
So it was 12 weeks total. And just so we're all talking about the same. It looks to me like it's 12 weeks. that he's asking for.
Was that part of the negotiations from the longer to shorter time period?
It's just what he had on.
Yeah, so
Stuff that was sent out and on his colored calendar, it equaled 12 weeks,
he had 10 weeks of full leave and
11.
Or 9 weeks.
9 weeks paid,
9 weeks full, and then he had 2 on either side, right?
2 weeks
Yeah.
part-time,
Yeah.
9 weeks paid time off beginning June 9th, ending
Yes,
August
thank you.
8th.
Yes.
2 weeks of part-time remote work to transition out of full-time work. That means,
Oh. Yeah,
Uh,
and that discussion was, we had a lengthy discussion about
that means-
whether or not he would be available during those weeks on
the
each side.
bookends, if we.
Yes.
The bookends.
I'm sorry, I misread the colors.
Okay.
I know the graph leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it did leave a lot to be desired. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to reformat.
So if we're giving him 5 extra weeks, not including the part-time, I'm calculating about $18,000. I'm just thinking about the value difference here if we gave him this time versus gave him a raise, right? And a raise, I would imagine like maybe 5%. That would be like maybe like 10,000. So we're almost looking at like doubling that, like a 10% raise this year in terms of just giving him that time plus the part-time.
So not necessarily. The vacation is going to be accrued and he will take it, but the overall impact of the P&L is his salary. He's not getting any excess. Where we lose money is if he comes back from this thing and quits. Then we would have paid him for unaccrued time.
Okay, but the value to him, he could take the time off on his, he could kind of afford it, so to speak, versus us saying, we'll give you these 5 weeks. I know what you're
Meaning if
saying,
he
like the
was-
salary is gonna be paid either way, but maybe
Meaning he
it's an
took-
optics thing for me that it
He
looks,
took unpaid vacation.
yeah, 5 weeks, right? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, it's around, it's $20,000+ is, if he already got a 3% raise. If, then my math is wrong here because I was looking at this as 12 weeks,
And so if
but
he
it's around 20 grand.
I think my math was the same as yours, Dakota, and trying to figure out, like, based on his current compensation, what's the dollar equivalent of 5 extra weeks of leave? And yes, it is around $18,000
Yes,
is
my math.
the equivalent, but that's not like a literal cost. to
It's
the
a non-cash-
organization. Right,
it's a non-cash
exactly, exactly.
transaction.
And it's also a cost, keeping in mind that like normally then he's gonna get an increase based on a salary that is in existence. So if we're offering him additional vacation time, we're keeping that base salary at a constant now or at just the cost of living increase.
And he has
So it's not gonna be
concluded-
that.
He's concluded that the time is worth more than the money.
The time.
clearly worth more than the money based on our math, right?
Yeah, I guess, I'm all for him getting time off. It just seems like a lot of time. I mean, normally in nonprofits, it's 6 weeks. Is what the typical time off is with pay. And so to double that, and I understand that he asked for even more than, and you guys got him down to 12, right? So I just, that's the only thing that, and yet he's a very valuable employee at 12 years without any extended time is a lot of time. He needs this time to rejuvenate. So I'm supportive of that. I don't know. I mean, it sounds to me like he's not interested in like 8 weeks or 6 weeks or something versus the 12.
So
It's 9, but
9.
I will say that, sorry, go ahead, Kate.
I'm finished.
Okay, I am incredibly supportive of his request as is, the 9 weeks with the 2 bookended weeks. I think good companies, the best companies have sabbatical policies. This is not uncommon practice. Steamboat Springs School District has a licensed staff sabbatical leave where you can take 1 to 2 years off and get paid your half pay for those entire years. So let's not pretend that this doesn't exist in our community. my notes, very similar to some of Jess's notes, I do think an equitable policy moving forward for all staff is important. I do think a set rate for additional staff members who take on additional work is important. But I think these types of policies, so whether you call them sabbaticals or extended tenure leave policies, are not uncommon. Some businesses do it for a year. You get a year off to recoup and you get your half pay that entire year. You get, so 9 weeks at full pay is in my opinion, modest compared to a lot of great policies. If we want to be an organization that is family forward, if we want to be an organization that is not just talking the talk about creating healthy families, we have to walk the walk. And this is a great step in that direction. When it comes to the nitty-gritty details that we were getting into of, well, what's the plan and who's going to cover this? In my mind, what's the plan when a mother goes on maternity leave for 3 months? Like you come up with a plan, like it's not that complicated, right? No one person in any organization should be so important that the organization cannot function without that individual. You know, I worked for a company where our CEO was a woman. She went on 3-month maternity leave and we picked up, we helped, right? And then she came back and that was fine. So I think like, well, who's gonna do this and who's gonna call who? So many organizations have had CEOs and executives take off for 3 months. I don't really think that should be the point of contention here. We will figure it out. I'm confident that the executive committee, that the board and the CEO will come up with a detailed plan. I think really the conversation lies in is this a policy that this board wants to move forward for with this organization, tenured leave? Is this something that we feel is valuable for the well-being of our employees? And I am 100% supportive of that.
I have a question for Angelica.
Yeah.
When your CEO left, did you feel like the organization matured more?
100%. I feel like there was a great plan set in place. We were more accountable. I was brought into rooms and meetings that I would have otherwise not been brought into,
Yeah.
and therefore was able to like find my voice and direct those conversations in a new way. Not that those opportunities were gate kept from me before, but when there's a vacancy, you step up.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, I felt that way.
Yeah, I was a little uneasy about it at first, but after Jason's response, I thought about it more in the context of the Brown Ranch and the organization maturing and reaching that next evolution of maturity. And I think a lot of stable organizations have more of like a balanced power structure. I mean, there's organizations out there, say like Tesla, that are, obviously held by a guy like Elon Musk, but obviously those organizations are incredibly volatile. Right, so going into the Brown Ranch, pulling back a little bit, and as a brand, we're recognized more as a brand rather than just Jason. I think that's going to be really important going forward.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of comments. One on the sabbatical and an overall policy. Again, I think we need to have a lot of conversation about that. Typically, sabbaticals are geared towards you go off, you educate yourself, and you come back and you add something to the organization. In this case, I'm being recharged, which is different. I've sent people off to get to their PhDs, and they come back and they have more value than when they left. So that's how you have to look at it, or how I have always looked at it. However, as Cole pointed out, I was old school. And that part of me says, this sounds like a really long time. But work-life balance is not something I would desire anyone to look at my life and say, I think I'll emulate that.
Right.
So it's just, you're right. This is a different time. There's a need to move forward in a different way. I'm a Renaissance guy.
That was what they call it.
That's what it's called.
I'll remember that next time you send me something via Telegram.
Carrier pigeon?
And I just want to say, I think Angelica brought up a really valid point about the opportunity for growth with the rest of our team. And we have a large staff, a large team. I think they can rise to the occasion. I think the fact that Jason said he's already thinking about a communications game plan, which like Dakota said is critical. And I think part of this long leave is his vacation, is it not, Leah?
Yes, I
Yeah,
mean,
so we're not.
we're talking about five
Five-
additional.
5 additional weeks. So really, like,
What he's already accrued.
yeah, so really like what Kate was saying on that 6 weeks sabbatical, you know, we already has a longer vacation because when we hired him, gosh, it's been 12 and a half years, Kathy. He actually came on and we allowed him to carry over his 10-year vacation from the city, since we're part of the same team. So we're talking 5 weeks.
Well, another thing to keep in mind, he already has a accrued sick leave balance of almost 11 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna
Which
say,
like
same
he could say that he needs for mental health reasons to take and our sick leave policy allows for that. So I think like the organization is already in a position that Jason could be away for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Again, like I think like my only like catch point is I want it to fall underneath a policy that applies equitably to all staff. I agree with Lou that the semantics of sabbatical usually is couched in academia, and Kathy raised that point to me as well. I think for that reason, that's why I'm suggesting extended tenure leave. As Leah mentioned, I'm working on a draft policy, assuming the board's conceptually supportive of this idea. And if it's helpful for you, I'd like to just read like the first 2 sentences of the preamble of that to maybe help clarify what we might be talking about as for a policy that applies to all staff. As part of our commitment to recognizing and rewarding long-term service, employees who have completed 7 years of continuous full-time employment are eligible for up to 6 weeks of extended tenure leave. This leave may be combined with accrued PTO for a maximum of 10 consecutive weeks of leave. Now, we can play with the numbers. I'm not attached to those figures, but I think that hopefully gives you some idea of what a policy would look like that is available to everybody in the organization who meets that criteria.
Would it make any sense to adopt such policy prior to approving this?
I
Or
think that's-
do we not have the appetite for
I
that?
think that would be ideal, but I don't know owing to time considerations and Jason's ability to plan,
Okay.
that that's realistic.
Okay.
And I think he wants an answer. I think we should vote.
I love the idea of being able to do it simultaneously, and I definitely wholeheartedly support the idea of tying the fact that we're going to put a whole company policy in place to our approval. And I know Jason is highly supportive of that from every discussion that we've had since he brought this up to me originally. He's always been advocating for his staff having the ability to access the leave, and I don't think he's gonna have any concern about not doing or creating a standard set of weeks and not doing it based on job title or role.
Great idea.
And we could make the commitment to say, if we choose this, we can't make any decision exec. We could make the decision to say, we're gonna move forward with Jason's things and simultaneously, immediately, whatever, have a goal for policy exec, whoever, to come up with the equitable, plan this year. And by the way, I love what you read, Jessica. Kathy.
Yeah, for me, looking at the additional or incremental 5 weeks, he is not going to get a merit raise in 2025. And to me, taking some of those dollars, maybe not 100%, but some, to me, is a good investment on our part. My biggest concern is making sure that the Brown Ranch continues its progress. And Jason is a key component of what's the
PST or PCT.
Yes, the staff. But I look at this as if we are a sports team, we have to have a deep bench. We have a next man up policy or woman. And so to me, I think this allows our staff to say or to demonstrate whether or not they want to grow and take on additional responsibility. But it's taken me about a month to get to this point. So I totally understand why there may be some concerns. And again, we need to develop a policy for the whole organization. And again, timing wise, I don't think we can accomplish that. So
where did you start? Where did you come from? No?
No, I came from very concerned.
Got it.
Not a no.
Good.
Okay? I was trying to, how do we make this work and still progress as an
Sure.
organization in the interim?
Makes
So,
sense.
enough said.
Patrick,
Just a minor point.
hold on, Mark, Patrick, and then Mark.
Did you guys address the sort of extracurriculars that he has going in the CHAFA board membership and other things that he's doing? Will he continue that?
I think his intention was to continue to serve on the CHAFA board and to attend those meetings remotely, although if there was a specific appetite from us that he divest himself of all affordable housing work during this period of time, I think he felt that CHAFA would be supportive of him taking the leave.
And for the record, I started where Kathy did, and probably Lou did too, and my concerns have been addressed.
Thank you. And so everyone knows, Mike Land texted me, she's sorry that she couldn't have stayed on, but she is supportive as well. Does it, Mark?
So when I first heard this, I'm probably in Kathy's court that it seemed like a lot, and it still seems like a lot. And I do not understand extended tenor leave or sabbaticals from a business perspective, i.e. What size companies have them, how long is it typical, when do they start? All those questions. And so I think it would be completely inappropriate to adopt a policy today, but it is, and everybody I think understands clearly that what we're doing here is we're not giving Jason a 10-week vacation. We're adopting a policy for this, this company, if you will. And I did go down and talk to, and I'd be interested to hear Jessica's comments. I talked to our HL VP for the bank and just said, what do you think about this as a general topic? And her comments were that there weren't that many out there. They certainly exist, but that for a small company, it was not typical because this is a significant expense. And it's just not a typical thing to have. So that doesn't mean you can't have it here. But it is something to consider.
Is that consistent? with
I would agree
your-
with
okay.
that observation. It's not typical in small companies. It is also very non-standard in government. I can tell you that pretty conclusively. However, you usually, tenure is rewarded in government. I mean, pay is generally lower, leave is usually robust. So your caps are very high. You know, when you get into like Jason's era of service, 15 years and plus, you might be accruing anywhere from like 4 or more annual leave days in a month. So it's not atypical in government for people to be able to take extended leave because the leave provisions are usually quite generous, whereas the compensation is low. I know Angelica, you made the comment about the school district. I will add that in terms of looking at like a market rate compensation, Jason is at the highest rate of compensation for, it's difficult in this market to find analogous roles, but even the school district principals who have far more staff, you know, I would argue a greater scope of responsibility and do enjoy summers off, their salary cap is $190,000 a year and Jason's already at 203. So I do think that Jason's being well compensated presently, which is again, where I go back to, I can't consider this for him as an individual outside of an organization-wide policy. Where you do see these policies in place are in organizations that are struggling with retention. And so this is seen as kind of, in theory, a no-cost way, right? It's not going to add to your balance sheet to incentivize employees to remain on the job when they might otherwise be attracted to leave. 6 weeks is standard. So I've reviewed a few similar types of policies. I think we do see them more in organizations that probably have more than 50 people, whether that's private sector or nonprofits. So just a little bit of added context for a policy that we might consider. So I mean, but I would co-sign what the HR person at the bank told you. I think that that's right. But I also think that in a community where keeping talent is vitally important. Our labor market is stretched rather thin, and the people we have at the Housing Authority have a unique skill set. And those folks are not a dime a dozen in this community, and we would be hard pressed to attract them from outside this community because there's nowhere for them to live, as we all know very well. So I think that because of the unique needs of our organization and the fact that we do have very talented, capable staff, further incentivizing them to remain at YVHA is in our best interest as a board. And I do think that meets our organizational priorities. So
I think so too.
I agree. Anything else for this discussion period, or are we ready to adjourn our executive session and?
I agree, and I just want to say that I think this was very productive, and especially for people to say like, hey, I am able to see things in a different way. I'm able to like learn and grow. Like, I think that just shows the quality of character of people on this board to be able to say like, I didn't start here, but here's where I am, and the exchange of ideas. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. This was a great discussion.
It's a strength of our board and Helica.
So we are approving as is?
We can't,
Or-
Not voting.
we can't make any.
Yeah. You guys need to go out of executive
Anyway.
session.
So I'll make a motion that,
Hold on.
I just wanted to make sure we were ready to
Okay.
stop the discussion so then we could move out of executive session. Thanks, George, for keeping tabs on
are
everything.
you wanting us when we
Thanks,
get back
George.
to regular sessions?
Yes, we have to.
Looking at Jason's contract.
yes.
That is what the next agenda item is. So that's what I'm asking is, are we ready to make a vote on this agenda item?
Is everybody on the same page about how that motion might be phrased?
We, right now, all we do is.
I think we have to do that
In
outside of,
Okay.
Yeah, no,
outside.
just, all we have to do now is make a motion, unless there's more deliberation, we need to make a motion to move out of executive session, because we cannot make any decisions in executive session.
Right, I understand that, but I guess what I'm clarifying is,
I think we
is
need,
everybody on the same page about what those conditions would be?
We're gonna
To be
learn that when we get
I
out of
think we have
session.
to learn that out of session. So yes, you're correct. We may not be ready for a vote, but I think we're ready to distill what it is that we actually would move forward with a vote on. And I think that needs to be done outside of executive session.
I would
But-
make a motion to.
Well, there's a couple
Wait,
hands up.
Yeah.
Dakota has her.
I just want to say, I appreciate, again, hearing everybody's perspectives. I don't think I can support it right now, and I just want to state really quick why. I think I would support 6 weeks. I think it's just too long and too, hearing some of the summary,
But he
points.
already has 6 weeks of accrued vacation. So you're saying you
But we
would.
would approve whether or not he could take that all at once as a board would.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify what it is you were saying.
We would.
I don't think we would not. I mean, having reviewed the leave policy in
Yeah.
great detail, the board doesn't approve Jason's use of standard leave. So he will have his 200 hours.
Yeah, he has to ask if he is gonna exceed his accrued balance.
But
But
the
if
leave policy of the Housing Authority allows him to take that leave, provided he has it. So the board wouldn't get involved in a regular leave request for the policy.
no, and typically, the board chair would approve if he's taking, 1 or 2 days that he doesn't have accrued, but is, would have it accrued by the end of the year. That's at the chair discretion to approve. So he can already take those 6 weeks. Just to clarify.
That's good to know.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we're saying is we're talking about adding 5 weeks to the 6 weeks. So if you are at the place where he could only take the 6 weeks, then basically we're saying that he would not get any type of additional compensation outside of his cost of living adjustment for 2025.
Dakota, is your concern the combined time of the 11 weeks or the timing of the current Brown Ranch?
I think I just have several concerns that I haven't been able to mediate, in terms of, I know that staff has agreed, but I think it's also putting extra work, not only on those few staff members, all the other staff members and the board. It's also, yeah, I have list of reasons that I think are just hard to justify with the community. I 100% am taking leave and like a month, maybe a month and a half, but I think the 3 months is just really hard for me to justify.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dakota, for letting us know. Any other comments in here for the discussion?
Can I have a quick point of clarification?
Yeah.
That, so the 200 hours that are available to Jason in a given year, when did that clock start? So he gets 200 hours of PTO in a year,
Yeah.
but is that the calendar year that we're already in? And I'm
Yeah,
assuming he's.
That's a
used
good
none.
question, because he just had a week in.
Yeah,
He
so what
carried-
we were talking about is, oh, go ahead.
He carried over 62 hours.
Right?
Yes.
The accrual is for 8 hours.
2024 to 2025.
2024 to 25
Okay,
days,
okay.
of which she dipped into for his time off already. And then that's accrued per paycheck.
Okay.
And I believe 8.33 hours per day. Don't quote me on
Per
that.
day.
8 hours per day.
Per
Okay,
pay
period.
Per pay.
Per pay period. I'm
Two
sorry.
periods.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yep,
per pay.
yep, I got you.
So
Okay.
did he, has he taken a week out of this year already? So yeah, is that, so the week that he took in January, is that part?
Factored into
Is
this.
that part of 2025?
It's factored into what his accrual is as of the time that we made this request to the board.
So the email that Leah sent to everyone on March the 3rd said that as of that date, I'm assuming his accrual was.
It probably
62
was
hours.
as of whatever the pay period was prior to that date.
Okay, 62 hours as of, roughly this month, beginning of this
So
month.
the answer is it's been counted.
Yes, the vacation that he's already taken this year
Has
has
already
been
been
counted against the accrual balance that he was carrying at the time of the March 3rd.
So in essence,
It's been deducted, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
maybe I'm just missing it. He's got 5 weeks a year. He has 4 left.
No,
Is
because he
that right?
carried over.
Carried vacation.
Carried-
Yeah.
And that's state law, the carryover of vacation.
Yeah.
I'm just,
So it sounds like if he took a week off, it sounds like he carried over roughly 100 hours from last year into this year.
62 hours. 61.98 hours is what I was told by Sandy,
Is what he brought in.
is what he brought.
And then he's been accruing 8.3 per pay
Okay.
period since the start of the calendar year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, one last thing that's actually really concerning, I think we need to address at another time, is that there aren't performance metrics for Jason. And that was a big question I had, and in terms of, every annual review, you would think you could look at performance metrics and ask them, what are your goals and how have you achieved your metrics from last year and goals last year? And not having that has also made this decision really hard for me. So I would appreciate having that discussion as a board at some time in the future.
Very important.
yeah, I think that's a good point.
And I just said that this is not a vote for just Jason taking time off. It's a vote for the extended tenor leave policy, but maybe it's not. It's,
If it were,
I
I think
feel-
that would be different.
I feel I think I know where this vote's gonna go, but I do feel this is really a significant decision, and I personally feel getting pushed into a corner over it, particularly if we're saying it's gonna be a policy. I think it's potentially a good policy. I understand supporting employees, but it's a big decision, and it's gonna take some time. So I don't know that it is necessarily guaranteed it'll be a policy, at least in my thinking.
Do you think that it's feasible to work quickly to try to get the board to agreement on a policy and either can
I
extend
would
Jason's
hope that we
contract
could
as-
get to some agreement as a board as to whether or not we want to move forward with adopting a policy as part of the discussion that we would have when we come out of this executive session. And that the commitment to move forward with that would happen. I mean, I think we can do it pretty quickly because of your expertise.
When you make a
Yeah,
motion-
excuse
Oh,
me.
sorry.
I would add, yeah, you guys are verging out of executive session,
I think so too.
allowable topics here.
Thanks, George.
I think so too. I really, yeah. I think that's a discussion we need to have.
The thing I want to say, to add to this is, being a manager for 25 years or longer and having turn and kern, it's really important to take care of your employees. And this is a great way to do it that doesn't cost the organization that much money, and it could potentially better the organization by allowing staff to grow. So that's, I just think, employee care, kind of what, Angelica was saying, it's just really, really important, because if Jason doesn't get this and he walks, or, I'm not just, I mean, it could happen, it'd be a problem for us. And, I think, 12 years of dedicated service, this is a great way to say thank you.
And I think we're getting ready, I'll say one more thing, and I think we're getting ready to, as an organization, sit in front of the public again for Brown Ranch for, the request for annexation to the city, hopefully. We also have our mill levy that is up. And I really hope, to Catherine's point, that Jason is not the only front person as we move to these ballot initiatives going forward. But I can tell you that as one of the front people from the last go around, Jason stood out as an individual and got so much criticism personally, that I feel that I failed as a board chair in terms of standing up behind him. And it wasn't for lack of effort or trying, but the reason why I am comfortable with this is that I am 100% certain that he will come back from this leave in a state where he is ready to re-enter the public sphere and to be the face of the housing authority again. And my fear is that if we don't give him this time with his family, that when we get to these incredibly important initiatives for the organization, I'm worried about his mental health as the front person for that job. And I'm worried that it's going to impact the results of these initiatives on our mission. And I hear what Dakota is saying about performance metrics and all of these other pieces, but at the end of the day, and I've been talking about this with Jason for longer than anybody, that is why I support this. And I think it's critically important to give it to him.
I hear you, and I really do want him to take time, because everything you just said, like, hits me in a deep way. It's just, I wonder if the board, I know Jason said he doesn't have appetite for compromising, but if the board would want to come back with a different offer of maybe 3 weeks or something where it's.
We
or
can
maybe
certainly
less
talk
of a
about that.
part-time.
But I think, to George's point, I think that talking about that has, what we're gonna vote on should happen outside of.
I would think that we get out.
Mine's well,
executive
a question
session.
too. Now you guys not, Kate, do other nonprofits in town have a sabbatical or an extended leave?
Yeah,
And
United
that's-
Way did.
that's what I thought too.
Lift Up does.
Stuff does, and what are the number of weeks for those, whatever?
Well, it's 6.
Six, so it's 6. So really what we're doing is consistent with what other nonprofits and United Way is small, Lift Up small, within the community are doing. Because just to clarify, this is 6 weeks, it's not 11. He already has 5. So we are being consistent with what other organizations are doing. And I hear what Leah's saying, and I agree 100%, but when I look at personnel policy or decisions, I don't look at the individual, I look at the organization and position. And I disagree with what Angelica said so eloquently. This is the right thing to do if we're gonna live by our values. So I don't see it, Dakota, outside the consistency of other organizations like United Way Lift Up.
That's helpful, and it's really not Jason's fault that we don't have performance metrics in place.
That's our fault. That's right. And I thought we did have performance metrics. I haven't been on the exec committee for a while, so I.
We did. Brown Ranch got defeated, so we need to redo the
Yeah,
performance.
so
Yeah.
we do have performance metrics. Thank you. So we just need to.
Yes, we just don't have, yes, they're not applicable based
Yeah,
on.
every time we make performance metrics, something, the rug gets pulled out from underneath us.
That's part of.
But
it.
yeah, we gotta get back to.
I will move that we exit executive
Thank you.
session.
Yes, a second. I will second that. Second.
First by Angelica, second by Catherine or Kathy. I don't know, you guys were tied. And all those in favor of moving out of executive session, please indicate with aye. Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none. We're moving out of executive session and back to the March 2025 board meeting of the Yampa Valley Housing Authority.
Do you have the ability to restart the recording or?
Yeah, and you need to do the statement once it started, once the recording started. Should we get Jason back in?
I think Jason's gone.
So this is his computer.
No, he's out here. I'll get him back.
Guys, trucks.
He's definitely here.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think he's sitting in his truck.
Can't turn the.
I am not sure he paused the recording.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. hope he did.
Yeah, it's been recording the whole time.
Uh-oh.
When you,
that's right.
when
It
you
should-
post it, you can like cut
You
out
can.
Yeah, but you have to stop it now and then start again, right?
He's here.
Okay.
It's not that. No, I know. I get it. It is, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, I had to stop it. paused it,
Was that
started
Now you need to read the statement.
Oh, okay.
It is, but
So
it's
you
not-
did, okay,
Yeah.
so that
Just
records as
for our
you were.
records, if somebody were to sue. and-
All right.
Then the judge-
Now, the Yampa Valley Housing Authority Board of Directors has just exited the executive session, which was held in compliance with CRS 24-6-4024F to discuss personnel matters related to the executive director contract. And we didn't make any decisions in the executive session. Is there any other language I need?
Those present were board members in attendance at the regular meeting and council Georgiak.
Cool.
Good job, Cole.
I always forgot that part. Every
How do you remember it?
AM time.
We have hardly had any exec sessions since I've chaired this.
I know, it was a nice.
That's a good sign.
It is a good sign. All right, so thank you, everybody, for the great discussion during our executive session. Now we're gonna discuss what policy we would like to move forward with in the hopes of achieving a vote today. Let's see. So what Jason is currently requesting is a vacation or additional 5 weeks of vacation accrual. And we heard many items during discussion, one of which that many board members were interested in seeing a extended tenure leave policy that is applied across the organization to all employees be considered as a requirement of the organization as a second step in approving Jason's request for this extended leave.
I'm just gonna jump in real quick and,
Yeah.
and say that, as was discussed and information shared in executive session, is that, whether you call it sabbatical or extended leave is a policy that is consistent in other small nonprofit organizations within our community, such as United Way, such as Lift Up. The standard time period is 6 weeks. That is consistent with what, our executive director is asking. So I think, and then Helica spoke more eloquently, so if you want to jump in, it's a policy that, supports our values, our the mission of our organization, the health equity that I feel very passionately about, whether it's for a neighborhood we're building or whether it's for our organization. So I would suggest that I am in full support of simultaneously, and I do think we can do things simultaneously in this community, is that we move forward with Jason's request with the standard, with having his, getting a 6-week extended leave added on to his summer activities. And at the same time, have the policy committee and the exec committee work together about bringing back to the board in April a draft extended leave policy that would apply to, that would, for a consideration, that would apply to the whole organization. So that is where I stand.
Yeah, I was gonna add, or I wanted to add that with any motion that we make as a board, we can add a condition of approval. And so my suggestion, and I'm happy to make a motion, is that we make a motion with a condition of approval to that motion. If that condition of approval is not met, if this board does not create an equitable extended tenure leave policy for the rest of staff, then Jason is unable to take that leave this summer. So it adds further motivation for this board to complete the policy for the rest of the staff as a condition of approval. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I will move to approve Jason's request for an added 5 weeks or an added 6 weeks of paid leave for this 1 year with the condition of approval that the Yampa Valley, I'm in the middle of, the Yampa Valley Housing Authority develops an extended tenured leave policy to ensure equitable access to similar opportunities for all staff in the future. So that's my motion.
I'll second that.
So there's a motion on the floor in a second.
Yes.
I thought it was 5 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think that, I would offer an amendment to say that the friendly amendment that the total accrued time off equal 9 weeks.
Amendment accepted.
and second, then accepted for a second.
Okay, so the motion on the floor, oh,
Well, go ahead,
no, go
then
ahead.
I'll ask a question. You're gonna repeat the motion.
I just wanted to clarify what the motion is. So the motion on the floor is that we approve a 9-week extended leave for Jason with a conditional approval of an extended tenure leave to be considered by the board and approved prior to his leave being granted.
Friendly amendment.
Yes.
It is 9 weeks, but he's already accrued for that.
The reason I said that is because then it allows us to get the proper accruals together with Sandy. And then she can report back with the totality of the change to the accrual list.
Okay, like, can we include that just for the reasons that Catherine said in terms of the United Way and other organizations, Lift Up, that have 6 weeks worth of additional accrued?
I don't know that that needs to be in the motion.
I think it's included now in the discussion.
It'll be logged in the discussion that like the reason why we're doing this is because other nonprofits across the community have similar policies of averaging around 6 weeks. So I'm not sure that needs to be in the motion, but I think captured in discussion is important.
Mark.
And the motion sounds like it said that we're going to approve a extended tenure leave policy. And I
think the
I'd
motion
rather,
says
I'd
if
rather
we
say
don't-
consider.
The
Right, I think
motion,
the motion says if we don't approve it, this becomes null.
correct.
That's what the motion is. So it doesn't say we will approve, it says we have to in order for him to take this.
The actual motion said we will develop one. And I didn't include the language in the motion that it would nullify Jason's time. I'm just saying that the motion on the floor is that in addition to approving this, that we will develop an extended tenure policy. So I didn't actually include in the motion that it would nullify Jason's if that policy is not.
I guess like my deliberation would be with the word develop. I don't know how useful a policy that's been developed but not approved ultimately is to the situation.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you're.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm just looking back at what I typed out.
Yeah.
I'm happy to amend.
How'd you type it?
Yeah.
I like the idea of develop as opposed to approving. Because I think we have to discuss it further.
Sure.
Mhm.
We don't have anything to approve.
I don't want to guarantee that we're gonna pass it today.
We have no idea what it is.
They consider it for sure.
Exactly.
I guess my feeling about that is that if we move forward, like we approve this for Jason, it's just for Jason. And we never get around to approving
Oh,
a
no,
policy that, no, let me finish, please. And we don't get around to approving a policy that applies to all staff. That's not a position that I'm comfortable with taking.
Not at all.
So like my caveat here is feel comfortable approving this for Jason only under the grounds that it then becomes available to all staff on a policy that the board agrees upon and is able to pass. But if we don't get to the point of developing a policy that can be approved by the board, I would feel very uncomfortable if we gave this one exception to the executive director and to no other members of the housing authority staff.
Okay, but I think the motion that's on the floor says it will be developed.
Right, but that's why I just said, like, a developed policy that hasn't been approved isn't worth very much.
So are you offering a friendly amendment to the motion on the floor, Jess?
Yes, I think that my comfort level would be that subsequent to the board approving an extended tenure leave policy that's available for all staff. If that doesn't happen at the point that Jason's leave would begin, I personally would not feel comfortable with that. I don't think that that's a good look for the housing.
We want to put like a date, because it might take us some time to get through, like,
Absolutely, yeah,
the formal
totally.
policy. So is it like by 2025, the policy's in place? By, the end of this year, we have a policy so that moving forward and every other member of staff can take advantage of this policy?
Well, I guess, that removes the teeth of it. Like if we say we're gonna do this by the end of the calendar year, but Jason's, bonus time will have come and gone, it's kind of obsolete. So I think like for me, I would want to see a policy approved prior to his extended leave being taken. I recognize that Jason, you have accrued leave and you could begin taking that in June or whatever the date is that you've put in place. Like you'll have, however many weeks and that's just your PTO balance. I would want to look at a calendar and figure out when would extended leave kick in and the dates that you're proposing. And if we haven't adopted a policy by that point in time, I would feel very uncomfortable with that dynamic.
I agree. I also wonder if we're are we ready to move on from that point, or we still need to amend the?
I'm happy to accept a friendly, Jessica, that says we will develop and approve an extended tenured leave policy by June 2025. If the rest of the board feels comfortable with that.
I feel comfortable with that friendly.
Would you second?
And actually, I was thinking the conditional approval. I mean, I was even be more optimistic. I mean, if the board agrees for this for Jason, why would they not agree with it for everybody else?
Because we haven't seen it.
Just because we haven't seen it, I'm very comfortable that like we will approve a policy for the rest of
Yeah.
staff, so I think I'm happy to say May of 2025, June just seemed like a good.
June 25.
June
Yeah,
25, I accept that friendly.
Totally accept it. And I really think, I mean, Jessica's got so much experience in this. I really think we get the policy and exec team together, we can get a real great policy to suggest to the board.
And Helga, can you restate the motion on the floor, please?
I
Thank you.
move to approve Jason's request for an additional 5 weeks, totaling 9 weeks of paid leave with the condition of approval that the Yampa Valley Housing Authority develops and approves an extended tenure leave policy by June of 2025 to ensure equitable access, to similar opportunities for staff in the future.
Wonderful.
Second.
100% agree. I'm still.
Okay, first by Angelica, second by Lou. Anything else?
Second
on
by
this?
Catherine still actually, but
Lou,
sorry.
Lou, I hand you the second.
So, clarification, if, let's say June meeting comes and goes and policy has not come before the board, Jason's approval is gone.
for the extra time, yes,
extra
but so
time.
we need, it's our responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen, and I certainly will take that responsibility incredibly seriously.
I will too.
And Catherine's head of policy and it'll get done.
Yeah, we'll do it. I mean, Jessica, I was gonna say, just have a, move forward.
Jessica
with this.
already has a good outline to begin.
Yes.
If that's what it takes to approve this, then I will make sure that it gets done.
I will.
I agree. Okay. Anything else on this item before we take a vote? Kathy?
I want to make sure that one is not contingent on the other because the devil's in the details. I don't hear anyone objecting to the concept, except maybe Mark.
No, I'm not.
Okay, but I don't think, it's starting to sound like if we don't do something by June, you don't know what your summer is. And I want to make sure that's not in the intent.
And that's why I didn't include a date in my original motion, but if that's what it takes for the board to feel comfortable for the majority of the board, then I'm happy to accept this friend. Then I was happy to accept.
Then
this.
I would add, even though we've seconded and third this, amend it again in terms of when does the 4 weeks end? Does that make it July? Or August?
August.
When does the?
I appreciate what you're doing here, Commissioner. I do not think that this board is prepared to wrestle with this conditional stuff. So I will be voting no on this motion.
That's fine.
But I want to separate this out because we've now confused ourselves to a laughable point.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of conditions of approval when I vote on things every week, so it doesn't seem so complicated to me.
You are doing calculus with a bunch of kindergartners.
Well, I think maybe what we do is we make a motion to create the policy first and pass that by a certain date. And then we approve Jason's time off.
I think we should vote on the motion that's on the floor, but my concern with doing that is that it de-incentivizes staff to plan. I am confident that we can get something approved. And maybe we just need to move the date.
That's not my problem. Does everybody understand what's in front of them? I guess is the point, because I got seconds adding amendments and.
I mean, yeah.
I understand.
I think I understand what's on the floor.
Okay.
And I'm with Leah. I think we can get this done. I mean, Jessica's got a very good format already. I really think that, it's only what day is today? We've got time to get this ready. And I think we're poised to pounce, my favorite phrase. I think policy and exec can pounce on this.
Yeah.
Get a very good draft to present to the board in April. I feel very confident.
I agree.
confident. Let's just do it.
I didn't give you guys.
And that's by June 1?
I mean, you can put every date in, I'm hoping this
We
is
could vote on it.
We could vote on it next month. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like, it's not rocket science. I already have a draft policy. I think it's more a matter of,
Yeah.
like Sandy eyeballing it from an HR perspective and making sure like it's kosher and it aligns with the existing, leave that YVHA has in place. So I think that like we could next month very.
Yeah, I agree. I said June just to give us time, but I agree that it's gonna be done before. And so my recommendation would be that we take this vote. If the motion fails, we can continue conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
My last discussion point on this vote is that I was really struggling. I had some concerns. I think my concerns have been majority mediated, so I'll be supporting.
Okay. Are we ready to take a vote now? Okay,
Can you repeat the motion just so that?
and
I-
Angelica, one more time,
Clear.
thank you so
I
much.
just closed out of my notes. I didn't think I was gonna.
I mean,
No, I'm happy.
we need that because we're gonna have to send that to Sarah, because I don't think if she would have asked all of us what the motion was, she's gonna get 20 different.
We've got recordings. It's recorded.
True, right, but that's the point. Like,
Right.
we're all hearing different things.
Hold on, I'm reloading. I needed to reconnect to the internet now because it was. Okay, I moved to approve. Sorry, George, good.
Sorry, one thing, Jason had expressed a desire to have something written, so I would add to the motion that Leah can authorize the effect of the motion through some sort of written document with Jason.
Okay. I move to approve Jason's request for a one-time increase, adding 5 weeks of paid leave totaling 9 weeks. With the condition that the Yampa Valley Housing Authority develops and approves an extended tenure leave policy by June of 2025 to ensure equitable access to similar opportunities. And direct YVHA Board President Leah Wood to draft a Georgia contract with Jason.
I would say Leah is authorized to execute further documents to
Okay.
effectuate the motion.
Great,
Great,
there's your motion.
okay, so we have a first by Angelica and Catherine has given the second to Lou. All those in favor of approving the motion on the floor, please indicate with aye. Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you guys so much for your extra time today. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I have one other comment. I would like to, schedule as soon as possible a joint meeting with the policy and exec to sit down and draft this policy so we can know where. we're at.
Executive meeting next week, so maybe you could join us.
So send it out and send me, what time next week?
That I don't know.
Send it to me, but I
I
just
think
think,
it's the 20, that's Thursday.
okay, send it. As long as we are going to get this done.
Pull this together.
Yeah.
Judge made me confident when sending that draft was very helpful to me, because I was working on.
I would get that in front of the board.
Yes,
It's gonna take 2 meetings to.
I agree.
hammer it out.
We're gonna get it done.
From.
So.
I can text you, Kathy, or Jason has it. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean.
You are smarter than you think.
I know they are not.
Yeah.
We have a fundamental. Thank you, though, Commissioner.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay, bye.
Yeah, that's.
And.
Yeah.
Give it up.
So I mean, we can make that.
Even if you could, I'll share what you sent.
And I just want you to know.
Feel
that
like there's something I can send it to the executive team.
The bylaws.
And send it to everyone.
And I mean, you're in that phone too, you provide so much value, and then I think it becomes.
She's gone. Tuesday at 1.
Tuesday at 1.
Elliott.
She'll be gone for.
Okay, was that too much fun?
Check the bylaws.